Hello again, welcome to my channel with another video of my moon sign series. And here we have my kind of favorite one, Capricorn moon. So I believe that there are many misunderstandings over this moon placement. So we will clarify the depth and reality of the Capricorn moon placement. So here I am with an astrologer, with a professional astrologer, Alicia, who has Capricorn moon placement. So welcome, Alicia. Thank you for being here. Thank you for volunteering. So yeah, you can briefly introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. It's lovely to be here. I've followed you for ages, actually, Matt, but this is the first time we're interacting. Um, I am a Virgo sun, Capricorn moon, Scorpio rising. Um, and I think being a Virgo and a Capricorn, they're kind of like the two of the hardest placements, like being hard on yourself. And astrology has just opened up a whole world for me of comfort and kindness to others and myself.
Yeah, exactly. So we will also talk about how your Capricorn moon may be helped or influenced in your astrology journey, I believe. So that is very structured moon. So that should uh, be of help. Okay, so let's start. So now let's get to know Georgiana and Denise. I already know Denise. So, yeah, Denise, you can briefly introduce yourself for the viewers.
Hi, I'm Denise, and I have taken Matt's astrology course. I think the second course that you offered, and I'm joined for his chart reading astrology class coming up soon at the end of August. So I consider myself a student and a learning astrologer. And I was really interested in doing this video because I feel I have a very strong Capricorn moon. I like my Capricorn moon, and I'm looking forward to talking about it in this panel.
Yeah, perfect. And Georgiana, you can also briefly introduce yourself.
Hello. I'm a Virgo sun with Capricorn moon and Gemini rising. I'm interested in astrology for more than 15 years, but I never studied astrology until my Saturn return. I'm still a student because I have a lot to learn. And I was very enthusiastic that you will launch these videos with moons in signs, and I think I'm lucky because I'm sure that I will have a lot of revelation today.
Okay, perfect to hear that. Okay, so now let's dive into it with our moon placement Capricorn. So my first question to Alicia, like I asked that question to everybody, so it's easy to guess. So what comes to your mind when you hear Capricorn moon or when you see Capricorn moon in a birth chart?
Or I instantly think that this person could be a bit repressed, sort of hides their emotions, but they're normally very practical, very helpful, and I kind of think they're often the most sensitive of the zodiac. It's just so well hidden. And they often don't come across as sensitive, but they once you do get to know somebody, you really see that sensitivity. Um, I think it's an emotional journey of growth, especially as a young person with your emotions. I don't think you deal with them at all until, Saturn is that planet that needs time. And so the moon is our emotions, Saturn is ruled by Saturn, needs time. So you just keep going. I think every year I really do feel differently about my emotions and I'm getting better at them. And I think Capricorn people, Moon people, they need to hear that. They need support. They will never ask for support. Um, I think with anything they're going through, they won't seek comfort straight away. That's not their natural response. Their response would be to bury it, to think about how am I going to deal with this, to control. Capricorn moon is also, I call it a Capricorn moon because it's a bit crap, but because it's happier in Cancer. Um, but I think it's really powerful once you learn all the strengths of it, which we're just going to carry on talking about. It's such a beautiful placement, and I'm really happy, and I'm so happy to meet other Capricorn moons. I'm a my Capricorn moon. I'm a Scorpio rising, so Scorpio rising being my first house, Sagittarius is my second house, and Capricorn is my third house. So I'm a third house Capricorn moon. But to sort of throw a curveball in, my moon is conjunct Neptune by 2 degrees. My moon is at 5 degrees Capricorn, Neptune is at 7 degrees. So I have a 2 degree orb. So for me, talking, the energy is blended for me, whereas other people will just have a standalone Capricorn moon. So you sometimes, if you've got a Capricorn moon with another planet, I maybe can come across as a bit of a Pisces moon or something, because it's blurred with an outer planet.
Yeah, exactly. So, like the house placements, conjunctions will also add another layer. And the first thing that you said is really interesting, hiding emotions, having the protective shield. So, looking thick and strong outside and hiding and burning emotions, very similar to Scorpio moon, actually. So, for example, Scorpio moon does that to protect itself. So, I should not feel vulnerable. So I think Capricorn moon does that to appear strong. So I should not appear weak. So we have this, or maybe you guys have this fear of weakness, fear of being weak, fear of being vulnerable. So that might kind of cause the burning of emotions. So as you said perfectly, Cancer is the opposite sign of emotions. So that's why the moon does not feel that comfortable here, because moon actually likes to express emotions and talk about emotions and show emotions. And you said also something really nice. So it's ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is the teacher. So each year, I believe all of you are learning something about your Capricorn moon. So it teaches you something. It teaches you strength or evolution in a way. So now my question is that, like, how do you learn? How does a Capricorn learn? How does a Capricorn moon learn to share emotions, to talk about emotions, to let go of that protective shield? So, or is that something too difficult?
Mm. I mean, I've had to learn to journal because I physically don't even know myself what's going on or why I'm upset about something. So, pen to paper, I would always recommend a Capricorn moon does. I mean, if you're into astrology, you probably find your friends, and you look up their moon sign. I find being with another Earth moon person can really aid comfort because they get it. They're sort of more practical with their approach of how they're feeling.
Yeah.
Uh, and then it's an earth sign, so going for a walk in nature, often just tapping into that energy of why you're so sensitive and why you're feeling, why you're repressed, why you don't know what you're going through. It's really hard, but it's like I say, it's also really powerful.
Yeah, exactly. So that might be being in tune with emotions. It might be writing, it might be talking. So the repressed emotions needs to be released at some point. That's a good point. Then other than this, so we have this, as you said, the fear of being vulnerable and weak. So how does it feel when you feel so weak and vulnerable? So why is that something that might be a bit scary for you, for example?
I think for me, expression revolves around security. And
Mhm.
if I don't feel safe, I can behave a bit peculiar. Like you can tell some, I know something's wrong with me, and often my environment affects me. So getting myself into a better environment will allow me to sort of process.
Yeah, exactly. And what I also find interesting is that many Capricorn moons I know, like when they buy a house, they are so kind of obsessed with the security, the like structure, if it is safe and if it is built with well material. So they research these things, what type of concrete they used, what type of material they used in the house building. So that is also something interesting with security. So security will be key. Then what makes you feel more and more secure in life with Capricorn moon?
Oh, um, I mean, for me, because it's in my third house of the mind, and communication, it is getting me to talk about my feelings. I have Mercury in Virgo, so I think I'm quite a good talker and I can talk about anything. And I am talking to you both now, but I'm not telling you how I feel.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I'm still doing it
Exactly. Exactly. So that's something that is like difficult to maybe discover. So I also find that like in therapy, like I have a friend who's a therapist and she is also into astrology. So when she is having some trouble or difficulty with clients who don't open up, so she thinks that they either have Capricorn moon or Scorpio moon. So like that might be that might make it a bit difficult to talk sometimes or talk about how you feel as you are right. Okay, so we have security, we have emotions, and I think another theme of Capricorn Moon is as it is ruled by Saturn, responsibilities. So what do responsibilities mean for Capricorn Moon? Being responsible, being like having schedule, having structure in life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's in my workplace, but I often, I mean, actually, if I say I go out with a group of friends, I will be the one collecting the money or organizing taxis. I naturally take that role of like, it's looking after people, but it's also it's controlling, so you know what's going on, so you're safe. And you want to help, but you really want to help yourself because then you're like, okay, I can relax now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit of controlling with that because you don't want to get into a situation that will make you feel like kind of anxious in a way. So now that is another point. So other than this, with Capricorn Moon, work, as you said, will be pretty important. So how do you feel when you work? So is working something that helps you express your emotions, for example, when you work, when you feel more productive? Does that help you actually?
Oh, 100%. When I shift into hyperproductive mode, I focus on external things. You know, it doesn't, I won't look internally, it will keep me busy, but those feelings will catch up with me.
Yeah, exactly. So when you like work, when you are productive, so that is also, I think, a form of security. So you feel secure that you produce something, so that you will earn something, like you will maybe be successful, so you won't fail. So I think that might be the inner motivation with that Capricorn moon of which we know as pretty hardworking. So I will work, so I will produce, so I won't fail. I will have my resources in a way. So
Yeah.
that can be, yeah, one point. Okay. So is there any other topic that you would like to add for general discussion of Capricorn moon?
I think we're also like really competitive,
Uh-huh.
like secretly. But again, it's the control, it's the ambition. We want to climb. We're not someone, I think, yeah, there's that desire not to
Yeah.
be not to be seen, but yeah, to be acknowledged for the things we've been through to get there.
Yeah, exactly. So we also have like the desire of success that comes from Saturn, I believe. So that can also be about some competition. So I believe you guys think that if I do something, I must do it right. I must do it like perfectly in a well-mannered, structured way. So, so that can also be a bit similar to Virgo in a way of perfectionism. So there is some sense of perfectionism here, I believe. So, but it's like pretty hardworking to do everything perfectly. So when you get tired of doing everything perfectly or trying to do everything perfectly, or when you get tired of working, for example, so how do you kind of get back to yourself?
For me, it is going outside, getting some air, and walking in nature. And I learnt a saying, sort of, detach with love. So, because I think I can become quite resentful when things aren't perfect, and accepting and knowing that we're all imperfectly perfect. Because again, it's in the third house. I love a quote, and I sort of I'll actually go on my phone and read some quotes to sort of reaffirm what I'm going through, and then it's okay, and that's just how I deal with it. And we're all different, and this is how I process.
Yeah, exactly. So the moon's house is pretty important here as well because, for example, third house moon will be different from 12th house moon. Fifth house moon will be different from like 8th house moon. So for you, it's more like journaling, traveling, walking, the third house things. We will also ask that to our participants in a bit. Okay, so now then I believe finally Capricorn moons are pretty famous for being frugal too. So being careful with money. So where does that come from?
I mean, that's a really interesting one for me because I also have Saturn in the second house.
Uh-huh.
So if my moon is ruled by Saturn, you can also look into your chart where Saturn is for some extra information. And for me, it's in the house of money. So I'm a single woman, and I so deeply wanted to get some money before I perhaps became a mother. That to me was really important, and I I don't spend a lot of money on. It's interesting you said about. I spend money on my house and my where I live, but on not on clothing, or we'll budget for things where people spend money. I'm like, oh no, I can be a bit tight with money. But again, the security and the control, it just all pulls into each other. But also, I'm actually really fortunate and lucky in life, and maybe again that Capricorn moon has helped me have some spare money in the bank. Like, how I'm so lucky to have that. But I work really hard to get it. Like I work 55 hours a week, and I get burnout. I have suffered. I've had to learn to manage that. But yeah, I do chase the money.
Yeah. So because money will also be about security, the feeling of being secure, feeling secure actually. Okay, so thank you so much so far. So now let's get to hear our participants about the topics that we have discussed. So would you like to add anything or ask anything, any comments or questions? Yeah, Denise, let's go ahead.
Well, sure. Yeah, I have so much to say. I totally resonate with everything you said about Capricorn moon. So I have a Leo sun and a Taurus ascendant or rising, and my North Node is in Virgo. Now, in Capricorn, my Saturn is conjunct my moon in Capricorn by 2 degrees. And my moon is at 15 degrees Capricorn, and my North Node is there's a trine, or no, a trine to my North Node in Virgo at the exact degree. So all of I think that's very karmic, and my Saturn is in retrograde, so there's lots of karma there. I really, really resonate with, I think we're about protecting, I feel, our emotions and feelings. And in protecting that, we are really good at setting boundaries, or I'm very good at setting boundaries, boundaries that protect my emotions, my inner feelings. That can come across as being cold or seemingly as being cold. I'm also very direct, and setting boundaries, first with other people, are about having relationships with other people. You want that relationship, but there's some limitations in a good way that you need to talk about. And I'm good setting boundaries, but can come across as being cold and overly direct, which isn't always very good for relationships. I've learned throughout my life how to set boundaries with myself, which is harder to do. But I think there was a question around how do we get better at expressing our emotions? Because for me, I have a lot of water people in my life. My husband is lots of water, lots of Cancer, lots of emotions, Scorpios. So being around a shadow sign or someone who's not like yourself, because big emotions can be frightening to me. That's too much for me. It's too emotional. And then I'm not as emotional, so there's a big contrast, and I think there's some middle ground there where we learn from each other. And feeling in a safe place with a water sign and having a deep conversation and expressing your emotions feels really good. And doing that more often when it feels good is very therapeutic for that. Just around restrictions and limitations of Capricorn moon, like I said, it's not all negative because we're good at setting boundaries, but also the lower vibration of that could be judgmental. So my Capricorn is in the 9th house, so I'm very protective of my beliefs, of my values. I was brought up by a very strict Capricorn, my mother, and we were very religious. So I'm very sometimes stuck on my beliefs and can be judgmental of other people if they don't have the same beliefs, and will stand up for my own beliefs. And being a Taurus and a Capricorn, a stubbornness can come about with that. So knowing astrology and knowing all of that information and really understanding your challenges and looking at your squares or your oppositions with Saturn, for example, or your moon, life just gives you those situations that I've learned many years, but those are opportunities to practice and, being a more balanced Capricorn moon. I also wanted to talk a little bit about work, because work has really supported my journey to be, first of all, I do like control, and that's not always a bad thing. I'm a project manager and I love it. I love telling people what to do, giving them a schedule, following the schedule. But I also have another skill that I use at work. I'm a consultant. I'm a change management consultant. And Taurus doesn't like change. And change can sometimes mean giving up control. So being a change management consultant, what they do is they help people move through change, through big organizational change. People are psychologically stuck, or they want to do things the same way they've been doing them, even if it's a benefit to change a process or change your mindset. So I help people change in a large organization, which is very therapeutic for me, because I have to ask, how do you feel about this change? I have to relate to that person. I have to give an example of where I maybe felt afraid to change, or share my feelings, share my emotions. And I do that with a big group of people. And I do that on one-on-one. So that's been very therapeutic in supporting sort of a balance with that moon placement.
Wow.
I'll pause for a sec. I have more to say, but even about the mother, maybe I'll just end on that. on my mother. Very strong Capricorn. She has a Capricorn stellium. She's a Capricorn sun, ascendant, her Venus, her Mars, and Saturn in
Wow.
Capricorn. And talk about responsibility. And I'm the oldest in the family of 4 children. And I have always, my mother always said, you're the oldest, you're the big sister. I had to walk my siblings to school. Neighbors found out, oh, Denise is walking her siblings to school. Can you walk Jimmy? Can you walk Richard? I had 12 kids I was walking to school, and I wasn't even 12 years old. I think like I was 9, 10, 11. And it became like I had to keep track of everybody, where they were. And then I had to walk them home. And then finally I had to set a boundary, like even at a young age, that, if we lose Jimmy, why is it that shouldn't fall on like an 11-year-old's on my shoulders. But I've continued to be the responsible one in my family, the responsible one that gets things done, the responsible one that people come to as well. So that can be a heavy burden to carry, but I'm used to it. And I like when I'm using my Leo generosity to be responsible and help others.
Yeah, thank you so much. So these are so interesting stories. I have questions already, but I will ask that later on. So, Georgiana, what would you like to add or say?
Yeah, about how we share emotions. For example, for me, it helps me a lot that I have a small circle of friends, which who I interact all the time, and it's very important to not feel judged by the other. I, for example, have a problem with the respect because I expect in all my kind of relationships, I expect to have this kind of respect. And even if someone is making a very bad joke or they are trying to laugh, I just use like a wall, and I already have boundaries with that person because once that I respect people, I also want to receive the same treatment. This is a very big security for me in terms of emotionals, in terms of feelings. Um, it's important also the environment. I mean to have like good people, to have that kind of persons, and to learn all the time something from others. It helps me a lot. Because I have a moon in the eighth house, and I also I balance somehow my emotions because I have faith even in the biggest crisis. Somehow it's like I have a power where uh, I can see beyond that problem, and it helps me a lot. Like everything will pass one day, even if now I don't feel good, I don't feel bad, I don't know how to communicate, and all these kind of situations. Of course, my security is within money, my partner money, um, which sometimes is good, sometimes is not good at all. But at least I'm very conscious about this defect because I consider it like a defect sometimes. But yeah, in couple, I can manage easily money. We had also some businesses, and it was like okay in terms of money. This is the security that I find in my daily life. And the only one thing that I didn't heard, and it's more like a question. It's about the guilt that we feel because, for example, I have this situation where I feel exhausted about my daily routine or my responsibilities, and somehow I want to play as well. But after I have that momentum where I'm doing whatever I want, I feel like for 1 week a very big guilty on my back, like a very, I don't know how to call that emotion, because sometimes it's leaving me there in a depression, like, and I feel empty, and it's very hard, that one. But of course, somehow I'm trying to balance everything again with faith. And maybe because I have a Gemini rising, it helps me to read a lot. It really helps me. This about my moon, my Capricorn moon.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. So that guilt is something that we should talk about. So it comes from, I believe, like you might always feel like you have to work, you have to do something, you have to produce, and you have to sort things out. So when you do not do these things, when you like spend time with hobbies or just hanging around, so that can be about some type of guilt because I should be doing something, not just sitting here. So then how do you think you could manage that sense of guilt? For example, Alicia, if we could get back to that topic.
I mean, I'm still figuring it out myself. I'm in my 30s. Saturn takes
Uh-huh.
time. I don't have the answer. I feel guilty about a lot of things that people, and when I tell people, they're like, don't worry about that. But I do. And it's a journey that we're all on. I would love to know any other Capricorn moons, how they deal with guilt, because it's something that's going to evolve for me.
Yeah, okay. So
So I'm
Denise?
in my 60s. Yeah, sorry. I'm in my early 60s. So I've had my second Saturn return, and I've learned a lot about guilt, and I've had a lot of responsibilities put on me. And I'll give you an example of something that's very, very personal to me. And when my mother was passing, which was over 10 years ago, but very sharp mind, but her body was giving out. Also, Capricorns are about promises. My mother always said, can you promise me that you will do this? She was always, and that was putting guilt on us as children. Promise, and especially me, because I was the oldest. Promise me you will always do this. Promise me this. So basically, on her deathbed, she says, promise me you will take care of your siblings. And I was in my late 40s, early 50s. And this was very hard for me, but in the moment, I had already set a boundary with myself that I won't let others do this, put responsibility on me. I have to sit back and I have to reflect, is this my responsibility? That's a really hard question. And I think it comes with wisdom. Age, I'm saying only because of Saturn and what it does. But I said to her with lots of love in my heart, I said, I can't promise that, Mom, but I will promise to be a loving sibling to my siblings, and I will help them when they need help. And I will share my heart with them, but I don't want to be responsible for them. So I cannot do that. Like I said, with all the love in my heart. And she said, I can live with that. I'm happy with that. So that was a very big turning point for me. And my siblings do go through a lot of challenges that I've had to say, and a couple of them don't speak to me because I said I'm not responsible for that. So that's really hard. That is very hard, but you have to be ready to say, am I really responsible for that? And to say to yourself, what am I responsible for? So in my example, I'm responsible to be a good sibling to my siblings, but I'm not responsible as a parent to them to make sure that they're okay, to make sure that they're on the right track. That's not my responsibility.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. So again, I believe responsibility and guilt, like they all kind of merge. So if you know what is your responsibility or what's not yours, so that can help with this sense of guilt. Because I think when you are feeling guilty that you are not doing, you are not working, because you feel that you are not fulfilling your responsibility. you are not keeping your promise to yourself or to other people. So that can align with the sense of guilt because I'm taking time for myself. I'm doing what I want. That can also be another aspect of that feeling. Yeah, that's a perfect question. Thank you, Georgiana. Yeah. Okay, so now for like we made introduction, this is the introduction, and now let's get into the relationships because moon is pretty important in relationships, like in intimate relationships, friendships. So what does a Capricorn moon need in relationships, romantic or friendship?
Mm. I think we really need reliable friends. My sister is also a Capricorn moon, and because it's interesting, Denise, that yours is conjunct Saturn and your boundaries. Mine is conjunct Neptune, so my boundaries are really blurry. But my sister is Capricorn. If people let her down, um, it really upsets her. So we really need reliable friends and partners who are going to share that responsibility. I think by taking the load off us because we can overdo it, um, and having friends that allow you to talk longer than usual to kind of get there, and being able to say, I'm quite sensitive about this topic, and just having a very understanding, watery type partner or friend to friend, like you say, to allow that Capricorn moon to slowly come out.
Yeah, exactly. The trust in a relationship, partnership, reliability will be pretty important. And other than this, like what makes you escape from a relationship? So Capricorn is a very cautious sign. So I don't think that, even though it's a cardinal sign, so I don't think that you make impulsive decisions. So I believe that when you are ending a relationship, there must be a good reason for you. So what's that reason? Why do you end relationships?
The last guy I dated actually told me that he had a gambling debt, and I instantly was like, I'm so sorry. Thank you for telling me. I can no longer continue this relationship because it's so reckless. Um, yeah, I think we're quite brutal because there's the standard, and you're like, absolutely not. And I can cut people because it's just like it's such a risk of keeping me safe. So yeah, people are on the other end of a Capricorn moon where they don't reach our standards. It can be a little bit brutal, but I think being brutal is being kind because I want to be direct with you. I don't want to waste your time. Let's just, we're cardinal, aren't we? I'm gonna sort this out straight away. I'm not gonna sit on that. I know I'm gonna sit on my feelings, but I'm not gonna sit on this irresponsible behavior. No way.
Yeah, exactly. So recklessness, irresponsibility can make you go total cold, I believe. So that can be one thing. Okay. So then also like in marriage or in intimate relationships. So um Capricorn is like, as we said in the beginning, so it kind of hides emotions. So in intimate relationships, especially, so like at the same time, sexual relationships. So like this requires so much intensity and like proximity and so much connection. So when do you need to make that amount of connection, like sexually or romantically with someone? So how do you manage that? How do you maintain that connection, actually? So when the emotions are too much, too intense, how do you deal with that in relationships?
Denise, would you like to go?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, so when we talk about intimate relationships, like my my seventh house is in Scorpio.
Uh-huh.
So I am meant to go through a lot of relationships. I'm I'm destined to transform through relationships, and we've talked, Matt, in class, I'm kind of the opposite of you, Alicia, where I've had several very long-term relationships. I've been engaged a few times. I've been married twice, and I let a relationship go on for almost too long before I ended because I feel some responsibility that I can change that person. I see the fault in that person. I know what they have to do, and it goes on for a little bit too long. That's just one thing. But when it's over, it's over. Like it is over. I've decided it's over. But I also like very deep conversation. I love questions, like I love talking about, what is the meaning of life? How do you feel about something? When we're really close to someone, having deep conversations is very therapeutic, and I love it. I don't like surface talk.
Yeah.
I think you just have to find someone who, for me, is as deep as I am, and you have to feel emotionally safe. You can move on quickly if you don't feel emotionally safe. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So again, we have the theme of safety, and at the same time, like it can be intense, but it should be safe. So not like you lose control of emotions, you like behave erratically, so recklessly, like emotionally impulsive. So I think that can also be something that can make you go away. So it can be deep, no problem, but still safe. So that's a good point. Okay, so from relationships, let's get into mother and the motherhood. That will be our final discussion. So, the moon rules motherhood. So, what I often see is that, what I often see is that, as Denise also remarked, so with Capricorn moon, I often see parenting their parents, parenting their siblings, parenting their friends. So they don't have to be mothers, for example. They might have this parenting instinct. So first, we can talk about that. Yeah. So how does that happen? So where does that come from? So yeah, I was just asking parenting siblings, and Denise. So
I was here. I just had to plug my battery in.
okay,
It somehow wasn't
okay,
connected. I thought, oh, I don't want
okay,
to.
okay.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
I heard what you
first,
said.
yeah, thank you. Alicia, would you like to add on this topic?
Yeah, learning when I found out I was a Capricorn moon, that's really helped me deal with my mother. Most Capricorn moon people, I think their relationship with their mother is difficult or has more challenges than perhaps another moon sign. But it doesn't have to be the mother. Sometimes I think it could be because if Saturn, I think, is the dad, and so it's a parent, yeah, like you say, and I end up parenting my friends, and uh, I will just maybe just share my experience. I've got Moon conjunct Neptune. When I was 11, my mum left the family home because my dad was an addict. So that I then became my father's spouse in a way. Um, I completely lived that Capricorn moon childhood. And now I know that has really helped me. Um, and I think I'm on a journey of forgiving my mum.
Yeah. So with that, yeah, we can expect some type of difficult relationship with the mom, but whatever happens, it actually makes you stronger and makes you prepare for the life with the relationship with the mother. So other than this, I often see Capricorn moons being close to their grandparents, grandmothers, maybe, or maybe maybe it's because their parents were working, Capricorn moon. So it can also be about a hardworking mother. So I often come across like Capricorn moon person was brought up by the grandmother because the mother was working. So this can also be the case, like in the relationship with the mother. Okay. So yeah, for the relationship with the mother, would you like to add anything, Georgiana and Denise? Georgiana, would you like to say anything?
Yeah. I think our relationship in general, they are very hard because even now that I'm looking back, I can say that my relationship with my mother was a big headache. It was very problematic. But somehow now I understand that that one was her level. So she couldn't teach
Mhm.
me better or more. It was her way of expressing herself, which helped me a lot to understand more about me. But because I had like a very cold relationship with her, now I am in that position when I end up parenting with my husband, which is
Mhm.
not very healthy. Again, I'm trying to change myself. I'm trying to be very conscious about my actions and everything, but it's a big challenge because sometimes can be frustrating for him as well because somehow I'm reproducing the same um, habit that my mother had it on me. So it's quite complicated, but yeah,
Yeah,
this is about mother.
definitely. So it can reflect on relationships too. Exactly. So Denise, what would you like to add for that?
So with my mother being very strong Capricorn as well, we had kind of a love-hate relationship. And I loved her. I resonated with her as I grew older. I knew I was more like her. So another thing that Capricorn loves is rules. So my mother had a lot of rules, boundaries, restrictions. When you're this, when you're 15, you have to be home by 11:30. Then when you're 16, you can come home at midnight. And it was all different times. We had to come home based on our age. And I was the only one of my siblings who, oh, I have to come home. It's 7 minutes to get home. I have to be home at 1 a.m. I was always the rule follower. I like rules. I like structure. I like a framework to follow. So that was very much my mother. But she put a lot of rules, boundaries, and restrictions on me being the oldest, which even subconsciously I resented. So growing up with some resentment that way. And I like what you said, Georgiana, about your parents, and I'm a parent, your parents parent in a way that they're able to, and they have their capacity and they have their placements and they can only do certain things. So I did learn to appreciate my mother always put rules and boundaries. Her way of showing love was, I'll give you a rule, I'll give you a boundary, come home at this time. We had chores that were attached to the fridge with a magnet. We got home from school, my dad got home from work, do this. And she worked outside the home, she worked inside the home. Everything was structured, and we followed, for the most part, the rules. Um, I don't know, I'm going to check my notes if they're, but her way of showing love was through her structure. And she was very, very, very much devoted to her family, her children, her grandchildren, very grounded in that way. But
Yeah, exactly. So that's a cool point, like devotion and the devotion that we kind of see from our mother. And as Georgiana said, that devotion can also reflect on the relationship. So like it can, like as you said perfectly, repeating the model of that, let's say, responsibility and devotion. Okay, so my
I,
other question for Moon, Capricorn, and motherhood. So, what advice would you give to mothers who have children with Moon in Capricorn? So, any of you can answer.
I think, Denise, what you just said, it sounds really tough, but I grew up in a household with no rules and structure at all. And I think if I did have some rules and structure as an adult now, it would be very different or perhaps easier because I actually lacked those as a child. But it, I think just the big one is time. Give them that space, that time. Uh, Time really does help with
Yeah.
Capricorn.
And
So
I
now,
think with all children, they need structure. Sorry, Matt.
no
All
problem at all.
children need structure. That's just a base point. Capricorn moon children need a little bit more structure because we feel safe, we feel secure. Give us some rules, but don't go overboard. Like, don't go overboard on the rules. Help soften that as well. Um, and don't put too much responsibility on children that have a Capricorn moon. And mothers, parents don't always realize, the moon sign, this whatnot of astrology of the children that they have. So learning who your children are in astrology is, I think, really important because you can actually do things to help them develop, help them be balanced adults growing up.
Exactly. So the word that comes to my mind is autonomy. So there should be structure, but autonomy at the same time, because that autonomy will be about safety. Okay, I have my structure, but I have my own space, so I feel safe in it. But if I feel in danger, I have the structure behind me. So that giving the autonomy and structure, I believe, will be pretty helpful. And Georgiana, would you like to add anything?
Not really, as I don't have kids. Yeah, I think as Alicia said, they need a lot of time, a lot of structure, but also a lot of love.
Yeah.
That love that sometimes it's missing. I don't even know how to express this word, but that love that it's practical, but it also can help you with your emotions since you are a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you will be very structured in life, which is not good because you will be on the other side of the balance, which is good to have structure. It's good to have a lot of things to do, to be competitive and so on. But you can be very cold on emotions if you don't manage, if you don't receive love.
Warm love, not structure type of
yeah.
thing. Like warm Leo love, Venus love.
Exactly. Okay, so now I think that like maybe the parents can ask their children, how does that make you feel? So how does this make you feel? So that awareness will be pretty important, I believe. Okay,
Mm.
so the next topic will be motherhood, of course. So I know Denise is a mother, but Georgiana, you have no children. Alicia, you also have no. So we spoke about responsibility, but I believe motherhood or parenthood is a big responsibility. So how does a Capricorn moon decide to take on that responsibility, more responsibility of motherhood? So now I think Denise will go first to share her experience with that.
I have to think. I'm just looking at my son's birth chart because we have similar, like his moon is in Taurus. I'm a Taurus rising. He has like we have some synastry, some similarities where I do look at his chart. He has a daughter, so I look at her chart,
Oh,
and you look at how you can support their growth and how because we like structure, so we can use that to our advantage to learn about our children, to learn what they need. I use astrology, but just being an intuitive parent, an intuitive person, and always encourage your children no matter what, but encourage them in the direction that they want to go. Um, I do think providing the structure is really important to parent again, but not be too too structured with
okay.
that and be more fluid. I think there's a tendency to be over structured.
Yeah, definitely. So, like for motherhood, for example, like when you compare your relationship with with your mother and when you compare your relationship with your children, what similarities and differences do you see in that?
I love that question
Uh-huh.
because what I immediately think of, and a little bit of trauma for me with my mother, was I was not allowed to talk back. I was not allowed to question anything. It was, this is the rule, you follow it. And it was, yeah, but mom, yeah, I never had a voice. And I was very resentful for that. She never listened to me. The first thing I wanted to do as a parent was always listen to my son. No matter how old a person is, you still negotiate. You still, how do you feel about that? What do you think about that? You know, bedtime isn't always negotiable as a child, but hearing what they have to say. And my son always had something for me to learn from a child's perspective. What do you think? How do you feel? And even if he wanted to say, I don't agree with that rule because I want to do this and this, and it was not negotiable, I still listened. I still listened to him, and we had a conversation about it. It was not just shut off like my mother would do.
Wow, that's perfect. Yeah, exactly. So, finding the balance there. So, asking about how do you feel about it, listening to him. So, that is good parenting advice for everybody, and also for everybody who has Capricorn moon children or themselves. Perfect. Okay, so I have run out of my topics. I think we have covered everything in a well-structured way perfectly. But would you like to add anything, any comments, or any topics that we missed? Is there anything that you want to discuss?
I think the word useful as well
Uh-huh.
is really important. Like, if I'm not being used or helping, or, I need to be part of it and be useful to somebody or something. Um, and I'm not a mother, but I've got lots of nieces and nephews, and I involve them in responsible things. So the task becomes loving. I'm not going to say how I feel, but we're doing something together and exchanging. So being useful to others, but my role as being helpful is I need to help people, and that's how I'm happier.
That's
Yeah.
100% right. And looking at, it's always important in astrology to look at your other placements. So my strong Leo sun being generous, I want to show my generosity and I want to be involved and I want to feel useful at work, at home. Like I've even gone to visit friends and saw a dirty kitchen and I thought, like this was single male friends back in my 20s. And I left the conversation to clean the kitchen. That could be something with my Virgo too. But I felt useful and I felt better to socialize after I cleaned their kitchen.
That's so sweet, Denise. Thank you. Okay, Georgiana, do you have any comments to add?
Uh, about parenting, as I said, no comments. And for the topics, I think you've done a good job. I mean,
Okay, thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. Okay. So, yeah, one more time. Like I think we covered everything. So, but if you would like to add any topic, we can discuss. No, okay. Thank you so much. So this has been almost like straight 1 hour. Like we did a perfect Capricorn job, 1 hour straight. Okay. So thank you so much for being here today. So I think people will learn a lot and resonate a lot with this moon placement. And now they see what's behind the curtain of Capricorn moon. That's why I have like astrologers and people with Capricorn moon here so that we can all interact and share. So I believe that will be helpful and of use, useful. So thank you so much for being here. So have a good day. So see you next time, hopefully. Take care and goodbye.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.
Welcome. Welcome.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.